Could you explain what a boundless berry is? No need to scream it out, just raise your hands if you could. One. All right, we're about to change this, okay? Let's get into it. So, throughout this panel that we could hear as well, and through Shiv's wonderful presentation, we could know ZK is incredibly useful, and it's getting to the point where we can actually make great impact with it. ZK is not a new concept. It's over 30 years old, but it's been mostly used in academic circles, mathematicians, and everywhere. The first place where it's truly found a use case where it can be as useful as it was meant to be as blockchain. The first team that made that happen is RISC-0, where Boundless was born. Today's presentation showed us how many times we've heard the word ZK or verifiable compute, mostly interchangeably. This is true. They're not 100% the same concept, but you can use these two words. There is, however, when we started to think about launching Boundless last year out of RISC-0 and its ZKVM and all of its success, to make it available on all chains across all ecosystems and to truly scale zero-knowledge proofs, we had a big problem. Because as you could hear, back in the day, ZK was very inaccessible and very secluded to smaller parts of the industry where people really knew that this technology exists and how to use it and how to implement it. So we had to make it somehow approachable, easy to understand, and especially with the description that we had from Shiv as well, with proof of verifiable work, our innovative blockchain incentive mechanism that we came up with, we really needed a system that we can use to explain what all of this is, because ideally, zero knowledge actually impacts through all these applications that we could just hear and many more. It will affect the experience of many, many users across the blockchain ecosystem and the internet itself. Because ZK and Boundless makes blockchain's internet scale. As we could hear with the blockchain internet parity, that's also one of the phrases that we can use for this. So to bridge this massive gap and solve this problem, we needed to find an explanation that helps us. And that's where verifiable compute came in as a crutch. The berries help us solve this problem. Verifiable compute is verifiable compute, but with the sweetness of the berries that we really needed to make it accessible and understandable by a large audience. So here we are with the berries. There is a beautiful metaphor that when I joined the team in last year's November, and we had to figure out how to explain any of this, how to beat our go-to-market, and when we came up with the concept of verifiable compute as well, as I was talking with the team and they explained to me how the protocol works, how there's a verifiable compute marketplace at its core, where zero-knowledge proofs exchange between the requesters and the provers themselves, I was like, wait a second. This very much sounds like it could be explained as you would explain a marketplace like a farmer's market. And since verifiable compute already was in thought, farmer's market made sense. So with this metaphor, we can truly explain how a proof's lifecycle through the Boundless protocol is very, very similar to a berry's lifecycle from farm to the farmer's market and to then the hands of the chefs or the people who cook and make wonderful things with it. So in this analogy, the farmers who grow the berries are the provers themselves. And the requesters who buy the berries at the farmer's market are the applications and the chains who use these proofs. Boundless is the infrastructure that takes the berry from the farm all the way to the requester. Plus, it's also the farmer's market in the middle. That's basically it. Easier to remember, right? I want to say a little bit, and to many of you that have been part of this journey, a little bit of shout out of what happened just in the less than 6 months, basically. So our first big public launch was when we launched our Boundless Berry NFTs. And it was a 48-hour limited mint for our community that has been already present with us in February. We minted 1.5 million of those, which was 25% of all of base chains traffic in 24 hours. It's insane. So that's when we knew we had something going, because that was the first time berries were used publicly to be associated with Boundless. That was major confirmation that this analogy is working. And the arrow doesn't really show, but February is here. And we already thought that's massive. That already felt huge confirmation. And we were like, wow, our mindshare is really going, guys. Like, we're at it. And this is a screenshot from last week's mindshare chart. So you tell me where the momentum is. But it really shows that everything that we're doing has been a very positive cascade. And it all started with the berries. Do you have the NFT? Raise your hand if you do. Oh my God, you guys are new. We might change this today. All right. Moving on. In April, we've launched our white paper, and along with the white paper for the Boundless protocol, fully describing proof of verifiable work and all the other innovations that are laid underneath the surface of Boundless, we also launched the berry paper. And with this, very much according to our standards and our how we launch things here at Boundless, is we wanted to make sure that it gets to as many hands and eyes as possible. People don't read white papers anymore. I don't know if you've read any other white paper aside from the Bitcoin one, right? Not many. Same. So I was like, all right, how do I make people read this? This is groundbreaking technology. It actually is changing how applications are built. We could hear this today from some of our esteemed partners. How do we make this seem like it is and actually have people understand and read it? So we built a reader website, which we launched on Twitter. It was read.beboundless.xyz, where people could go on this website, highlight certain words or parts that became shareable images on Twitter and the feed. It worked miraculously. I'm not going to pull up the mindshare chart again, but it increased and doubled again. So with this, we got 370,000 people to read the white paper, and it got translated back to 4 languages, including Mandarin, Korean as well. And we really made people read again. All right, after that, I put all of this here. It's a rampage. We did not stop. Everything kept going. We launched our Kaido leaderboard, which, as many of you know, is basically a social incentive mechanism so that we can track better who's a public supporter, who educates well. We produce so much content. My team and I have wrote so much long form about how Boundless works, what verifiable compute means, its impact, our ecosystem partners, explanations specifically on proof of verifiable work around ZKC afterwards. We provided so much content, and the community answered, and they really, the Kaito leaderboard kicked off, and people were producing so much educational content and helping each other and really showing up publicly. So I highly recommend, not that, I don't know how many of you are launching things, but I do recommend giving people so much resources, they will actually use it for really good things. And at the same time, also in June, we launched ZK mining incentives, which is very important. It's on the other side of our marketplace because Boundless connects physical infrastructure through proving, lots of GPUs. It connects blockchains with some on-chain contracts. And in the middle of it, there's a lot of cryptography that connects all these 2 parts. So it was very important to us that we launch ZK mining as soon as possible. And we did that in June. That's when we announced incentive mechanisms that will run before mainnet as well to get as many provers on board as possible. And as we get heard from Shiv, we managed to onboard over 2,000 provers just in the 1 month of mainnet beta being public. Mainnet beta launched in July. By that point, we were already hundreds of thousands in our community. We already had 2,000 provers. The signal, if you're not familiar, was part of our campaign for mainnet beta. It was really important to us that we showcase in a very tangible way that Boundless is actually useful. It does something. It's not just a game. We don't farm anyone with our testnet. We're actually providing something that's good for the whole ecosystem. So we came up with a signal, which was the first full consensus Ethereum proofs. No one's ever done this before, not even the Ethereum Foundation. And that was the first point where we got really validated by the Ethereum Foundation as well as many other partners. 20 partners ended up joining us in this movement, and we provided this open source good to the ecosystem ever since. Since then, we're still proving all of Ethereum. And we're already proving Base as well, and we're moving on to other chains because as part of mainnet beta as well, over 400,000 people participated, and we've collected almost, well, I think at this point it's definitely over 300 ETH to keep proving these chains as public goods. And in September, we launched mainnet last week. Yay! It went really well, and thank you everyone for all your support. So kind of as a summary on this part, berries help blockchains become internet scale. Boundless is the same. And with the analogy of the proofs and the berries, Zero knowledge proofs are basically the tool that we have in our hands right now as builders to make blockchains so much more scalable, interoperable, and solve most of the issues that in the last few years we could hear panels and keynotes talking about as actual problems. It is truly that. It's accessible, it's universal, and it's abundant, just like Boundless. I'm going to give the word to Kashvi Little, who's going to talk about what it means to be a boundless berry, and then we'll get into the rest of it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kashvi. I'm the socials and community lead at Boundless. How many of you are familiar with what a boundless berry is or is already a berry? I met a few of you earlier. Nader's a berry, Natalia's a berry. Soon is somewhere around, he's also a berry. But to elaborate a little bit more on what makes someone truly boundless and truly a berry starts with having an abundance mindset. Boundless is built on the foundation of abundance, as Reka mentioned earlier. We win together, we believe that opportunities are abundant, and we help each other connect to them. Secondly, it's important to have conviction in ZK adoption. A lot of the berries have evolved over time since they first joined us in February. They learned how to firstly, they submitted their proof of berry, then they learned and submitted their proof of read by reading our white paper, as Reka mentioned earlier. And then we had our own contest of like content creation and things like that, which was called proof of thought. Because once the berries proved that they could read, they then proved that they could also think. And that brings us to our third point, which is showcasing alignment through execution. Whether you're a content creator in the community or whether you're a prover or you're just trying to spread the word about ZK adoption, it's important to showcase that alignment through execution because the boundless berries are doers and not just thinkers. We execute, we create, and we prove. So how many of you are on the Boundless Discord or have Discord roles? Okay, we need to change this ASAP. There's a QR code at the end, and you're all going to join the server. Next slide. For those of you who aren't familiar, which I think is most of the people here, the Boundless Berries have two guilds, the Proven Berries and the Baby Berries. Proven Berries are consistent contributors who've shown up for Boundless across all social channels and have proved that they're truly committed to being ambassadors in our community. And we're giving them 4 new paths to grow with Boundless, because as Boundless grows, we want to make sure that we're nurturing the community and making sure that you guys are growing with us. That starts with these 4 guilds: writers, community hosts, artists, moderators. All are pretty self-explanatory, and with time, we'll have criterias announced for all of them. And I'm very excited for the berries to lean into their strengths. The berry evangelists are also going global. We've already talked about the berry evangelist program heavily within the APAC community, but it's also time to spread this globally and have our other regions involved. So Turkey, Nigeria, and many more will soon be having the opportunity to evangelize on our behalf. Now that we have come towards the end of the presentation, does anyone feel confident to explain what a boundless berry means? And you can totally speak in Korean as well, by the way. We don't want you to feel like there's a language barrier. Okay, Lindsay from Stellar is going to tell us.
First of all, thank you both so much. And I love the berry campaign. It's been so fun to see that unfold. But to me, a boundless berry is someone who is excited about building a scalable and safe internet through ZK proofs and also cross-chain. So it's just taking those tenets forward.
That's awesome. Thank you. Okay, I think we're good there. I'm just going to pass the mic back to Reka to close.
Thank you, Kashvi. So that's what we wanted to say roughly about where we've been and why we started all of this with the berries, the meaning of all of it, and maybe you walk away with a tiny bit more context on why the berries exist if all the story was not enough. But otherwise, do we need any more reason that they're really, really cute? So to summarize, ZK and specifically Boundless needed something to be more approachable. Zero-knowledge technology and infrastructure as we know it, and a lot of the blockchain projects that exist today, so notoriously unapproachable and hard to grasp, and they're not really inclusive to a larger audience. So we wanted to make sure that we compromise for that as early as possible. We're going to continue building with the berries, and we're going to host more events for the berries, as Kashvi explained, online as well. We're providing more and more opportunities for people to show up and show who they are and contribute to Boundless, not in just the technical sense, but in the non-technical way as well. And including that, we'll have more and more meetups globally. Thanks to Natalia, who put today together as well, we have more and more events across the globe. Basically, I think we had over 30 this year alone, and it's only September so far. But looking into next year to have more and more local representatives who are helping us hosting events and meetups as well. And obviously, we're coming back to Korea next year too. So thank you so much, everyone.